You can convert all your vinyl.
Vinyl?
Well, you
I
can
was
do
listening to vinyl today.
Okay, we'll talk about vinyl on another page, okay?
I have lots of vinyl, and I even have the capability to convert it. And I converted probably about a dozen or so. And it's so tedious, I just said, forget it. I'm going to just go over to iTunes and pay the $10 and buy a digital version instead.
That's right. Yeah, vinyl is it has a very nice quality about it. But it's different than digital for sure, no doubt about it. That's a very diplomatic way of putting it.
Yeah, I mean, you have to like the blemishes. I mean, that's part of the charm, right?
Yeah.
it depends on how clean you keep your collection.
Well, that's the thing. A couple of times I had to go and help the needle along.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think FLAC files are pretty amazing if you want to have a good system that can play them. It's just just quite revealing.
And that's what Dave Robinson recommended to me, and that's what I just bought today.
You just need masses of storage. That's all. It's very voluminous format.
This one has a built-in hard drive.
2 terabyte hard drive.
That should keep you going for a while.
Yeah. And then we'll have to do a mask-to-mask meeting at my place one of these days, Gary, and you'll have to bring some of your favorite music and maybe a couple of pieces of vinyl to play.
Okay. We'll compare them to vinyl, okay?
Sure.
I used to have a ton of vinyl.
I still have a bunch.
Just so everyone knows, I have the recording turned on for the meeting.
Yep.
So did everybody survive the big winds?
Yeah.
Blew away the clouds. We're happy.
Yep. Not too bad out at the north end of the peninsula here.
It's supposed to be clear tonight, actually.
Yep.
All week. Well, I think until Thursday.
Yep.
I'm assuming everybody missed the eclipse.
Oh, right. The eclipse. Oops.
Yes.
It was cloudy. But I have a photo to share.
The photo.
Hey, there's been sunspots.
Yeah, my Facebook is full of people's excitement.
Yeah.
So what does this crowd think of that very small Coronado? It's called like PST, Personal Solar Telescope, for about $1,000.
It works fine. It has limited resolution, but it's very rewarding. A lot of people have them.
Talk to Bill Weir about that. He's always sworn by them. He has a PST.
He's the only one in the club to borrow one from?
Well, I don't know. You can talk to him about it. He's had his for quite a while. It's quite an old unit.
Doesn't the club have a solar telescope?
The club has one.
Yeah.
The club has two, and they are available for loaning out.
Okay,
to members.
is from Sid or who?
From Sid.
Yeah, Sid is the holder.
Yeah, we should have a 40 millimeter and a 60, I guess. I'm not sure what the size of the new Lunt is.
And the Lunt, I think, is a 60.
Yeah. So the original one that we had was the Solar Max 40.
Yeah, the Lunt is a pretty nice scope, actually.
Very nice. It's the same one that I have.
Yeah.
What do you have?
Is the club's double stacked as well?
I'm not sure. Yeah,
The
mine's
lens is.
It is.
Yeah. So it's a 60 millimeter, and the double stack brings it to a 50 millimeter. You can see lots of detail. Mind you, you could always get a 90 and see even more detail, but add a zero to the price.
Yeah, the only one that is even close to affordable is the 40 millimeter.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lent used to make a 35, and I think Chris
I
Chris
have
Priest
one of
has a
those.
35.
Yeah. And there's one at the center of the universe as well. They have the same one as I do.
Chris, it must be similar to the Solar Max 40, I guess.
Yeah, it's not great for photography, but it does a fine enough job for visual.
Yeah.
Probably like the PST.
Yeah, it might be worthwhile getting back, do a little solar observing if you're going to get some activity on the sun now.
It's
Like
looking very promising, actually.
Yeah, look, that big spot looked pretty good.
So how does atmospheric seeing affect the sun viewing? Is it the same kind of deal?
Very much.
Yeah.
You've got to have a perfectly clear sky. If you have high haze, you may as well not even bother with HA.
How about turbulence? How about turbulence?
Well, if you're trying to do photography, it's certainly the more stable it is, the better. If you're looking at it, it's not so bad, I guess.
Yeah, that's.
I'm assuming you're going to be doing lucky imaging anyways.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
But if you just want to do visual, I have a little 4-inch ETX knockoff that I have a solar filter for, and I just stick it on a tripod with a geared head and just track it manually. And I saw the Venus transit that way. It was great.
Yeah.
Speaking of solar, about 15 years ago at the center of the universe, a guy showed up with a visible light solar projection device.
Mm-hmm.
And the screen itself, it was I think like sandpaper, and the screen vibrated really, really quickly. And somehow in visible light, you could see the granules on the sun.
Oh,
What?
Yes, it was quite amazing.
Yeah, before I got that little ETX, I just put a solar filter on a pair of binoculars and did eyepiece projection onto a piece of cardboard up the back. And that worked really well too.
But you still can't see the grains though, can you, on the
No,
sun?
all you see is sunspots really. You don't even
right.
see prominences. But
Yeah, photographically, if you're using like Bader, the white stuff, you can see granulation.
You can, huh? Okay.
Yeah,
But
you can image granulation.
So David, what are you actually looking at? I thought it's only in the H alpha that you get the
Well,
contrast.
you're looking at the surface of the sun actually.
Yeah.
So that kind of boiling on the surface, you're going to see with even a white light filter. As I say, the Bader, it's more dominant on a Bader filter.
Yeah.
The Thousand Oaks, the ones that are traditional yellow with the mirrored surface, it's harder to see. But the Bader lets through a little bit more light and it's a little bit more contrasty. And then if you kind of tune up the contrast when you're adjusting the image, you can see the granulation.
So Bader, what kind of Bader filter? You talking about BAAD?
Mylar. It's a Mylar filter.
It kind of, well, they say it's not Mylar. It's their own substrate, but it is a thinner film. It's not like Thousand Oaks is the traditional glass filter. It'll be kind of like triple coated on the back of a glass filter. But this Bader stuff is extremely thin, and because it's so thin, it's like the difference between using gels and using glass filters. There's like no kind of refraction right in it.
You can buy them in a holder size.
You can buy them pre-made. You can buy them pre-made, but most people kind of roll their own. They buy a sheet, and then like I have several in different holders. I just bought a little bit of, I think I bought a couple of sheets of it, and I just made up my own in my own holders.
I used the Kendrick one on my binoculars for the total eclipse.
Yeah, so Kendrick actually sold the holders, and I just bought film from them as well, and I just made my own. That way I could always make my own. So that's what I chose to do.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll get started. It's a little bit, it's almost 10 minutes after the half hour. Slightly smaller crowd this evening, but we'll see if other people show up. So welcome to the Victoria Centre Astro Cafe, the last one for November, and our latest one on Zoom. I just wanted to remind people that we do have the calendars for sale. So if you are interested in calendar and you don't have one yet, please contact either me or Lauri. We both have them. I sent out an email last week calling for nominations for both council members and awards for the upcoming annual general meeting in February. And I did want to announce that the Victoria Centre Council has a new member. So for the first time, I think in this current term, we now have a vice president. And I'd like to thank Randy Enkin for putting his name forward and welcome him as our new first vice president.
Hey, Randy.
Hey, Randy.
I do want to say, as a way of encouraging other people, that it is in memory of Diane, and my feeling that this is a way to honor her in this institution that we both love. And I think it is really very important in my life, and I'm very glad to be part of it. And I thank all of you for making it such a welcoming and entertaining and fulfilling organization. So I'm looking forward to this.
All righty.
And not to steal Randy's thunder there, and a further round of maybe congratulations and encouragement, but he does intend to put his name forward to be our next president. So thank you very much for that as well. I just wanted to go over the this week at the RASC. So I'll just show a document I've just prepared here, just in case you didn't get the email. There was an event or a show on earlier this afternoon, so I didn't include that. And I've tried to change the times, I hope correctly, to be ours, but there is another Insider's Guide to the Galaxy. Those have been happening every second Tuesday, so that will be one of those tomorrow. You do have to sign up in advance. On Sunday, RASC Montreal and Ottawa and NextGen are putting on a joint presentation. So that would be in the middle of the afternoon for us. But you do need to register ahead of time. They have been doing astro imaging, and we have a winner for this week. And there's a small capture of the picture in the email itself, but a much better one if you look at Zenfolio, and nice image of the area around Orion there, showing the horse head. Very nice. And the RASC has the robotic telescope, and the data is now available if you want to subscribe to it. There's some information here as to how to do that. And just a reminder that gift memberships are available. So if you did want to send a membership to somebody you know, this is the time to do it. And those are available by contacting the national office or calling. So those were the things that were in the this week at RASC email that came out earlier today. Okay, I think Joe, you were going to show us an eclipse photo.
Yes, let's see if I can do a share.
Ooh.
So this is Stephen Beddingfield and his wife live in Yellowknife. They had some clear skies. Maybe I'll just review it a little bit because it's kind of an interesting story. I don't know if everyone can read that small print, but this is a penumbral lunar eclipse, happened yesterday. Well, early this morning, actually. This photo was taken at 2:40 Mountain Standard Time from Yellowknife. And this shows the maximum eclipse for this penumbra. This is a partial lunar eclipse. So this is where the Earth gets between the sun and the moon. but doesn't completely eclipse the moon. So did have to do a bit of a chase. It was minus 16 when he started out at midnight at Yellowknife, and he had to contend with some ice fog, and eventually had to make a run for it 32 kilometers away, and it was minus 22 by the time he got this photo taken at the site that he had chosen. So full marks for Stephen. He's lived in the North a long time, so he knows how all this works, but still, I have to admire him. Anyway, great photo.
I'm a fair weather astronomer compared to
that. Me too. We're wimps down here.
Yeah, I'm a fair weather astronomer compared to you, David.
Yeah. So anyway, that's a pretty nice result, I would say.
Yeah. Well, he
Well,
did a good job.
Yeah, he did.
I think one of the advantages of going where he did was he did get himself a bit further away from Great Slave Lake. So possibly that cured the ice fog. I don't know if it was.
Yeah, the moisture is obviously killing him. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you are on Facebook, you can have a look at this photograph on the RASC National Facebook site.
Yeah, so it's unfortunate that we were again clouded out, but I guess that's unfortunately the way it goes with having things this time of the year. Did anybody get up to attempt to look at it, or no? I guess it was pretty hopeless. No, the clearing was just a bit too late for us. David, would you be interested in talking a bit about that email you sent out? And
Sure. Yeah, so I think sometime this week I received an email from one of the members of the Electronically-Assisted Astronomy group. And it was not exactly about EAA, but it was a request to find out if there were any members in the center here that were doing either traditional amateur telescope making or maybe utilizing new technologies. So I did send an email out. I'm certainly guilty about part of those things. But I was actually reminded of this center's commitment to ATM, because we were very much an ATM society probably like 10, 15 years ago. When we had mirror grinding, we had people making their own telescopes, making their own sort of components for astronomy. So we certainly have the roots there. But I was wondering myself, how many people were still doing it, because as we all know, most of us don't grind mirrors anymore. But I mentioned that there are a lot of new kind of twists in technology that have really kind of inspired people, not necessarily to fabricate. I mentioned that I was less of a fabricator than an integrator. I tend to find kind of ready-made components and piece them together. I mean, basically that's what I did when I put together my small refractor imaging rig for my grab and go imaging. So basically, I mean, I went through the literature, kind of saw what was actually happening, and there certainly are a lot of things that are trending because of a number of different things like miniaturization, the availability of small computing, which makes it both cheaper and actually less arduous from the point of view of bulk. Definitely, if the last couple of years is an indicator, there's more and more things that are being driven by the phone, by the iPad. Also, that nest of cables that we used to have, and actually many of us still do, I still do, is going to be probably eventually a thing of the past. I mean, the small processors like the Raspberry Pi are starting to replace a lot of the laptops that we would use. Very nominal power requirements. The ability to actually put that processor right onto the mount and onto the telescope, so there's no trail of wires anymore. There's a lot of pluses to it. I know there's been a couple of people that have been communicating to me by email, just asking about the ASI Air. Not that I didn't want to, the weather hasn't really been cooperating, but I'm hoping later on this week that I might be able to get some initial images out of the ASI Air. I've certainly dry run the device. It's certainly fine. It's a traditional Raspberry Pi, but it's basically a device that is turnkey. There's really nothing to do. You just gonna give it power, turn it on, and away it goes. And then you can connect to it through your phone or through an iPad. So it's certainly good that way. It offers almost anything that you would need. It has polar alignment. It has imaging through any of the ASI Air devices, the ASI ZWO series of imagers. The only thing I would say about it, it is very ASI centric. So if you're not totally ASI devices, you might want to look at a more generic device. There's actually other devices available. There's an AT-ATIC device, which is very, very similar. You would think that these were all rolled out of the same factory, but in a way they are. The Raspberry Pi is a very pervasive little microprocessor, and all it would take for customization is something called a hat. So hats are sort of daughter boards that go on top of the Raspberry Pi, and they allow you to do different things. So any manufacturer can choose to produce a custom set of features by creating their own daughter board that would go on top of the Raspberry Pi. The whole thing runs under Linux, and actually, believe it or not, most people are quite versed in Linux these days. A lot of the kids, most of the kids are nowadays anyways. It took me, I don't know, 10 years before I ever hit Unix, even though I was trained in it, to see it at work. But Unix and Linux are very pervasive now. And as I say, it is pretty much turnkey. So, you know, you don't really have to do too much. So I don't know if there's anybody that's kind of interested in starting up a group. I already mentioned, you know, whether or not people wanted to sort of start up a group doing EAA. I got one response, but I'm sure there's many of you out there that are probably at least curious. So anyways, my goal is to sometime this week or in the coming weeks is to exercise the ASI Air and then come back with some images that I can show you, and then give you an idea of kind of what role it plays in kind of modern amateur astronomy. So are there any questions right now at the moment that anybody has?
Yeah, I have a few questions, David.
Sure.
The Sierra Vista Club in Arizona has online star parties now. So what would you need? Like a single shot color camera?
Oh, no, you're talking about EAA now? Yeah, I mean, I would recommend a single shot. I mean, you can certainly do it with almost anything. You could do it with a digital SLR. You could do it with a mono camera, but I think for the most impact, a one shot would make sense. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the new CMOS sensors have very rapid download. The mono cameras, at least the older CCD monos, had longer downloads, mainly because they were, in many cases, still USB 2. And now all the CMOS sensors are USB 3. And they're also being built with very large buffers, so that you don't even notice, like you can get a download within, like, 5 to 10 seconds often.
So what can you expect to see? What can you does it just simply lay things on top of it? Does it gradually come into more and more contrasts?
So the components in EAA are basically some type of imager, usually a one shot. And the other thing you need is some kind of a computing platform that's going to take the signal and then integrate it. Now, there's lots of stuff that are built for Windows, and of course the ASI Air does stacking as well. But most of them are using software like ASI has their own called Studio, ASI Studio, which does online stacking. That's what I've been using. The other one that you can use is SharpCap. And many of you that may have tried Lucky Imaging are quite familiar with SharpCap. But SharpCap has decided to sort of invest a lot of time in EAA. So they're kind of prime. They're kind of like almost the leader in doing EAA support.
So here's what I want to do. I want to sit in my living room, run my scope from my phone, and use Google Desktop to share the image from the observatory and show my friends stuff in real time. Is that possible?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
No reason why you can't do that.
All
I
right.
mean, the capture is really simple. As I say, what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to exercise the ASI Air sometime this week and just show you some of the stuff it can produce. And I'll probably just do a very quick kind of video, just showing you some of the components, though there are actually many on the internet already showing the capabilities of it. I think what I might do is, as I'm going through this process, I've already built kind of a set of links that I find that are interesting for EAA, and I'll share that with everybody. Now, the other component to my request was to find out who was tinkering out there. I did get some feedback, as I mentioned, there were the usual culprits that I was aware of, but I did see a number of emails from people that I wasn't aware of using things like the ASI Air and already actually, and still continuing to do tinkering. Is there anybody with us here? I know Jim, you kind of dabble in microprocessors and stuff.
Yeah, I've played around. Mostly, I've used. I've built a barn door tracker using an Arduino as the driver for the stepper motor, and I've actually got another stepper motor coming in from BC Robotics up in Nanaimo.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to get started on that one again. I haven't.
Are they a good source for components? Because I'm actually thinking about building a focuser actually for my Borg.
They're pretty good. They're pretty good for. I'm not sure exactly what you need, but I know they stock most of the Adafruit components, and they also have SparkFun bits and pieces.
Yeah, there's already quite a number of sketches. Now, if you're using a processor like the Arduino, their code they call them sketches, and there's actually quite a number of sketches for a focuser. So if you want to sort of automate your focusing, they even have ASCOM drivers, so they could integrate easily with Sequence Generator Pro. They just behave like a commercial focuser. So,
well, interesting you should mention that. I've been running. I have Windows on the main computer, but on this laptop, I run a version of Linux, and the K-Stars program that the planetarium program that is pretty much the go-to for this system also has all of the ASCOM. Will do all the ASCOM connections. So I haven't had anything that actually needs that, but it's nice to see it sitting in the background that I could connect if I wanted to.
So if you're familiar with that kind of stuff, Jim, if you are thinking about something like the ASI Air, I would probably steer you to StellarMate instead. StellarMate is very, very similar. The only thing it's missing from the ASI Air Pro is that the Pro decided to add sort of 12-volt distribution into the package. But if you saw the ASI model Air before this current model, it didn't have that. So basically, it was really no different than running StellarMate on a Raspberry Pi, with the addition that there were already indie drivers actually for other equipment other than ASI. So you wouldn't be tied to ASI equipment.
Okay,
Jim?
that would be it. That's one issue I have with a lot of the manufacturer stuff. They're very well made, very slick, but unfortunately they tend to be proprietary too. So I
They're
tend
actually they needn't be so. It's just that ZWO basically wrote their own package for their daughter board, and they kind of took the pieces out of that indie package that was originally written. I can't remember who wrote it, but the StellarMate code is the original code that was used for all these knockoffs. Actually, they actually are the original.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Randy, you had a question?
Oh, I just want to encourage you, Jim, to photo document as you build your equipment, because it would make a really stunning display for us.
Okay, I'll put that together. It was it looks a little bit like Frankenstein's monster right now, but
all the better.
Yeah, actually, as I say, as far as I'm concerned right now, there's a couple of things I'm working on right now. I want to build a focuser, so I'm going to be looking into stepper motors and pulleys and timing belts and things like that, which I don't know very much about, but I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos, so I think I have a sense for how they work now. So I think I should be able to cobble something together. So there's that. And the other thing I've been doing, I think Chris Purse knows this, is that I've been building a 12-volt distribution box. But I decided that I wanted to sort of add some things to it that were more like the commercial offerings. So I'm thinking of something like Pegasus and the Eagle system, which actually they have 12-volt distribution, but they also have a bunch of add-ons. Like they have kind of like environmental sensors and things like that. And that's right up the alley of Arduinos and Raspberry Pis. So the other thing I want to add is kind of an environmental logger, so that when I'm out imaging, I can capture all that information and not even be concerned about writing any of these things down, because later on I would take the data log and then integrate it with my my images. In fact, I probably would write it back out to the FITS header on each of the images. So then I would have full data on the imaging run.
That would be very interesting to see, David. So yeah, please keep us posted as to how that progresses, and the work on the focuser too, because
yeah, I will certainly do that. As I mentioned, if anybody's kind of interested in having some sessions outside of Cafe, just to talk about any kind of tinkering or any of our projects, I'd be more than happy to sort of host that. I'm always interested to see what people are building, and typically people are smarter than me, so that would be a benefit to me. Anyways, thank you.
Yeah. And a reminder, the center does have we're using our a Zoom license we bought, and it's not getting a heck of a lot of use at the moment. So if you did want if anybody does want to start some special groups within the center, I don't see any problem with requesting access to the Zoom, so you can use this.
Yep, sounds good.
Yeah, the big benefit of using the Victoria Center Zoom account is you don't have any time limit.
Yeah, so there is a free one available, but it's got it terminates after 40 minutes, whereas this does not. And certainly you can reconnect, but you'd have to do it every 40 minutes. So. Great. Well, thank you very much. Does anybody else have anything to share, or should we have a look at the website?
Chris, I have one image from Edmonton, and that follows on when I heard Dave talking. This is a from a while ago. It's been posted yesterday by Alistair Ling to indicate what you can do with not much.
Okay, very good.
If I share the screen.
There it is.
So this was taken in December 24th of 2017. It's Alistair with his 60DA, a Tokina 12mm f3.2 lens, shot at 12,800 ISO, 20 by 20 second exposures on a tripod. processed in sequido. And so this is what you can do with minimal equipment. You don't have to go whole hog. So I thought that was kind of interesting, going back to roots, I guess you could call it.
Yeah, I think that's actually great, Dave. I think we often get caught up in having all the fancy stuff, but you know, to be honest, to do very basic stuff doesn't require very much.
Yeah.
Well, I think a major advantage of that is it's highly portable, right? I mean, if you're going to move around, if you have an observatory, that's fine, and then go big. But it gets a little tiring toting around a big scope, and especially if it needs time to set up. So I can certainly see advantages of having smaller equipment for that.
Yeah, that certainly was my challenge, Chris. I really wanted to do more, but I couldn't see myself doing that with a lot of large equipment.
Yeah.
Well, until this discussion, I was very proud of having updated my firmware on my Nikon this month.
Very good. And it survived it, did it? Which is always a good thing.
Yeah, you always wonder when you do that if this fancy camera you have sitting on your desk is going to brick or if it's actually going to work.
Yeah.
Boat anchor, if not.
They make really nice
I think that's-
paperweights if they don't work.
Yeah, I think that's true of many devices now because lots of devices have firmware. So you have a lot of opportunity to brick lots of things.
Well done. It's always good to know it worked. Does anybody else have anything at this point? Or okay, as you probably noticed, Reg couldn't be with us this evening, but he had put a couple of things on the website. So he did ask me if I would go over them this evening. So I will start this up. The first thing to note is that our next Astro Cafe will be in lieu of a monthly meeting Astro Cafe, and we will have a guest speaker. We have, I hope I'm saying this right, Abedin Abedin, who is at Herzberg, and he's a postdoc, and his expertise is in, well, he's going to talk about meteor showers anyways, and I think that's his expertise. And so he's going to give us a preview of the contradids, yeah, something like that, that which will happen in early January. And so he'll talk a bit about that. So I hope people will be able to attend. So that'll be next week. On Wednesday, there'll be another one of the speakers at the UVic Observatory. This week it's Matt Taylor, who's also a postdoc at Herzberg, and he'll be presenting this talk on Tales of the Littlest Galaxies That Could. And if people attended the, I think a few people were there last week, that was an absolutely fascinating talk. It was one of the remote observers at the Canada-France-Hawaii telescope, and he took us through the startup procedure because he joined us a little bit before sunset from Hawaii. So, and the only problem was that they were having some high clouds, so he had to delay things a little bit, but we actually got to see an evening startup procedure at the CFHT, which he's running remotely from down at the bottom of the hill, basically. So that was really fascinating. So I think UVic has had some great talks, and this looks like it would be another one. So those are two things coming up that are on our website right now. So next week is we will have a guest speaker. We are planning to continue a bit more into December. We will probably, let's get my calendar here, continue on and have Astro Cafes on the 14th and the 21st. So there would be 3 more after tonight, and then probably a break of 2 weeks around the vacation break, and then starting up again in January. So that is our plan at the moment. And we will be continuing for the moment to have all our center events on Mondays. So again, we are talking about the annual general meeting being on one of the Mondays in February and having a guest speaker once a month as we can find them. So that's potentially a little bit earlier tonight, unless anybody else has anything they'd like to share or say. I don't know if, please feel free.
Okay.
So,
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Randy,
Yes.
what do you have on your agenda for the coming weeks for the moon?
Well, it's interesting as I have just finished
yeah,
all my observations for the Isobel Williamson. So now I have to prepare my dossier, and I will submit that to Bill. And Nelson will be one of the people to witness the dossier. So now it's just for fun. I'm not sure what I'm going to focus on. But it's a very nice feeling. So behind in my background today is one of my pictures for the for this collection of pictures. I think I'll do the Lunar 100, which is a graded set of 100 features that go from very easy, like the lunar disk, all the way to some very difficult ones.
You could actually go back over some of the stuff you've done just for a second rev or something.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah,
I'm
you
not
could
going to
do that.
stop. But in terms of my sketching, I'm very keen to start learning about how to shade better.
and when
Have
did
you-
you start
have
this
you-
one, Randy?
I'm sorry?
I was gonna say, when did you start doing the Isobel Williamson?
March 2019.
So you've
So a
done
bit
that
over a
pretty
year and a half.
quickly. Yeah, that's not bad because I guess in theory it can be done more quickly, but usually spotting some of the finer detail is requires just the right conditions.
I will certainly give a whole talk on it, but once I saw that I was in shooting range, I kind of set trying to finish before the end of the calendar year. And then it came down to a whole bunch of features, which were all in that waxing gibbous phase. So it was at 4 in the morning on Saturday that I finished it. I had about 5 features all to do in that one band.
When you'd had trouble seeing at other times, I guess. So.
Yeah,
It worked out.
it's a funny sort of phase. It really is a best early, late in the morning, late in the night, whatever. 4 in the morning is really a great time to see a waxing gibbous phase.
Randy, I've always wanted to ask you this question. In terms of field of view and magnification, a lot of your images show such detail. What, on average, what kind of field of views are you looking at?
Okay, with my 150 times, so that's a 750 millimeter focal length and a 5 millimeter eyepiece. I can't see the whole moon, so I've got about a 0.4, 0.3 or 0.4 degree field of view. It's a nice compromise. It means, because I just dial the equatorial mount. I don't have a motor on it.
Mm-hmm.
So when I go to 300, first of all, on a 6-inch, it's really iffy that I'm actually seeing anything better. And you're always spending time moving the telescope along.
So would you say it's true to say that you're operating with really a smaller virtual image in your eye? You're not really zooming in to look at anything, right?
Oh, that's the amazing thing.
Yeah.
Certainly you are, the more you look at, well, I'm sure all of us see this when we're in with the telescope. You start off just seeing the forest, and then as you spend time looking in the eyepiece, you see the trees and then the leaves.
Yeah, I would imagine you're doing kind of biological lucky imaging, right? In your
Absolutely.
brain.
Yeah.
Wow, that's something to
Yeah. I always tell people when we get public up to look at planets that to take their time and spend some time looking, because it takes a while for your brain to process what's coming in the eye.
Yeah.
And the more you do it, the better you get at it. You're building those neural pathways that really improve your ability to see things, because you see with what's in here as much as you do what's in here.
And I think familiarity with a lot of the configurations probably are helpful to you as well,
Yeah.
because they become very familiar and intimate.
Yeah, I mean, like star hopping to find a Messier object. You start doing that on the moon too.
And if you want to change your perspective somewhat, try observing with the other eye for a while.
Oh, that'd be weird.
It is. I had to do that for a year in New Zealand, and it was definitely entertaining. I do switch eyes from time to time now for that reason.
So Randy, given the telescope you're using, your images are just upside down, or are they upside down and reversed?
Upside down.
Just
So
upside down.
I just take my atlas and flip it around, which is good. That it'd be rather tricky if it were is it the SCT that flips it left to right also? Anyway.
I can't remember. I'm a refractor guy,
Yeah.
and I'm always just laterally reversed. Just
Okay.
left to right is flipped.
With the Newtonian, it's just upside down.
Yeah, inverted. Unless you
But
have.
I
You get
recently
good at reading. You get good at reading the map upside down.
Yeah, so recently I invested in an Emisi prism, like a really high-end one, and now I see them right way around. Unfortunately, my brain has not unlearned moving in the wrong direction. So I've got to unlearn the reverse. I gotta, like when I'm track now, I gotta undo that stuff I learned with the regular prism.
Do the right way with one eye and the other way with the left eye, and see how that goes.
Get totally confused.
Randy, as an
Yes,
artist, and sketcher, I can tell you that your sketching has improved excellently from the first time we saw something you had.
Well, thank you. I hope so.
So Randy, it might be worthwhile for you to start sketching other things other than astronomical stuff that might bring something to your astronomical sketching.
Absolutely. And, sometimes I will take a fossil from my porch. If anybody's come to my porch, that I've got a whole bunch of fossils all over it. So that's kind of fun to do too, but there's so much to learn.
Yeah. I actually wonder how many people actually take the trouble to do both sketching and imaging and observing. It's kind of a big ball of wax, right? I mean, we all seem to gravitate to one thing often. I mean, I think it's good to sort of dabble in all of it.
Does RASC ever do surveys and see what people do?
I often wondered about that, whether we really have an inventory, because I think most of us that have been in the society for a long time, we know each other's interests, but maybe not. Maybe people have adopted some new things that we don't know about, right? It's interesting.
A few years ago, there was an article in one of the Sky and Telescope magazines, I think it was, about a sketcher who was drawing Saturn, the rings of Saturn. And one of the features that he included was something that he could see, but it was kind of poo-pooed by a lot of the professional astronomers until a few years later, with a little bit more acuity and a little bit more signal processing, they actually found the feature he had been seeing. So it was a bit of a comeuppance for the sketchers and the professionals.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I don't know, superior processing going on in the brain. I would like to think anyways.
Yeah, I wish we could just turn on that capture.
I think the biological technology has had a couple of million years to develop. It'll be a little while before the electronic catches up.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, if you think about it, science and technology often mimics biology, right? We often copy, right? And it's yeah, we got a lot of catching up to do if we wanted to really match it.
So I do promise you all a presentation once I actually have my medal.
Well done, because I think there's not too many people have that one.
It's about 21 now in Victoria, only Nelson.
Yeah, so it'll be you and Nelson. So.
Randy, you'll receive that. They'll just mail that to you.
Well, that's what they did for Explore the Moon, and I don't know. That's they say that in better times the club will present it to you, but there you go.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know. I guess we don't really have a lot of like, based on the talk about the vaccines now, we may miss this coming summer as well. It's possible.
Hard to say.
Yeah, that's kind of my feeling, is that I'm not counting on doing anything in person potentially until September, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's earlier.
So what do people think about doing Astronomy Day virtually? I mean, it might be a nice check-in for all of us on the island, right? I mean, there's lots of little groups on the island. You know, it might be worthwhile to have at least a check-in that way, a virtual check-in. And
we may be able to, you know, have kind of some other places participate. So maybe Nanaimo and I don't know if Francois' group in Comox Valley is going much there, but so maybe, and I don't know about Cowichan Valley, but maybe we can see if we could link together and have an island virtual event instead.
Well, so, I think we're going to need to do some planning if we're going to pull it off. So if we're going to do it, we probably should announce it pretty soon.
Would there be one master Zoom session that encompasses everybody?
Yeah, I think that's probably the way to do it. I mean, I'm just thinking about the model that was used for the astronomy educators seminar. They just basically had Zoom sessions. Now they did one better. They actually had breakout rooms, though the breakout rooms didn't always work, but that is a feature. I don't know if it's a feature of our account, but you can actually set up like just like a conference, a real conference that you would go to. You could have these multiple rooms where if you were interested in, you know, lecture A versus lecture B, you could just congregate in the breakout. But I'm actually hoping that if we let people know soon, that people will maybe even prepare videos. Who knows what people are going to come up with, just to describe what they've been doing all this time. I'm sure there's lots of interesting stories.
Some things to consider.
Yep.
Great. Anybody have any concluding comments, or is that?
Well, does anybody have any new equipment arriving? I know Dan does, but has anybody acquired anything new astronomically? No, everybody's quiet. I don't know what Dan acquired. Does anybody know what he got? It's some kind of refractor, as far as I know.
He didn't say, did he? I don't know.
I think it's some type of refractor. He said something about 600 millimeters, so it's probably like maybe an 85 mil or a 90 refractor.
Of course, it could be that nobody wants to say anything because they'll get blamed for all the cloudy weather.
Very good. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're already going to blame him then.
Yeah. Very good. Okay, well, thank you everyone for joining this evening. Remember, next week then we'll have a guest speaker, and yeah, have a great week. If you want calendars, reach out. And yeah, it was good seeing everybody tonight. And as they say, stay safe.
Yep. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.